Book 101 is all about the books that I've read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book 88 Actionable Insights for Life, no other than Dr. Agi Keramidas.
Daniel, hello. Thank you for the invitation and your introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Agi or Dr. Agi. Can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. I am Greek originally. I was born in Greece. I studied as a dentist, hence the doctor. When I was 35, I I was living in Greece. When I was 35, I felt a desire, a calling, shall we say, to change my life, and I moved to the UK, and I have been living in the UK for the last 15 years. My biggest endeavor the last few years and my biggest passion, and I will bring it because it's always relevant with the book also, is my podcast, Personal Development Mastery, which I have been running for over 5 years now. That's a very short explanation of who I am.
Dr. Agi, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and book and podcast to the world.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, what's inspired you to compile these 88 actionable insights for personal development?
It's a great question. I believe I reached the point when I was working on my podcast after 3 years. I have reached the point where I had quite a lot of content published, many hundreds of interviews. And I realized that there was a lot of knowledge or rather wisdom in there because there is a difference between those two. So I was inspired by similar books, and the one book that really standed as a major inspiration for this book was Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans, where he basically took his interviews from the podcast and created an incredible book. So the principle is the same. I took material from my podcast and compiled it into actionable insights. I used this title and this phrasing in particular because it is not about knowledge, it is about implementing. I'm sure we will discuss about this further down.
For sure. And again, thank you so much for compiling these insights. Really empower people all over the world. So, how did you select much insights to include? So, was there a specific criteria or guiding principle?
The main guiding principle was my my gut, my instinct, what I felt, because it was my own content from my interviews. I had a very good feeling beforehand of which of those conversations really contained the wisdom that I wanted to present. So for most of them, the decision was very easy. So for about I think 40 of them, or I think it was 50 authors compiling these 88 topics. So 40 of them was quite easy. They were obvious. Then the other 10, I made some spreadsheets, I did some other more, let's say, methodical way for to complete my contenders, but the majority I knew even beforehand that yeah, this belongs to the book.
Certainly. So, can you share one insight that had the most significant impact on your own personal development journey?
Definitely, there is one. There is one. The one that comes to my mind now, because obviously there are more than one that had a major impact on my personal development journey. But the one that comes to my mind now, and I will share, is having a structured morning routine. Which, when I talk about a morning routine, I mean having an intentional set of things that you do the first 30 to 60 minutes after you woken up. So for many people, unfortunately, what they do that very valuable time is completely, unstructured at best, and at worst, it's even disempowering. If you turn on the TV as soon as you wake up or start scrolling on Facebook, you're setting up your day to fail without even knowing it. So having a structured morning routine that I have, over the years adapted and refined and fine-tuned, and it's not, a certain set of actions that I will have to do all of them, but many of them I do anyway. So that is the short answer to your question. Having a structured morning routine, and I can tell you some elements that it includes if that would help. But yeah, having a structured morning routine, which I follow every day for years, has made a huge difference in my personal development.
Certainly. You know, Dr. Agi, early in the morning, I always say to myself, I'm the head, not the tail. I'm a victor, not the victim, always. And
Definitely.
it will empower you the whole day. So, were there any surprising lessons or unexpected advice from the expert you or consulted?
There were some, I will, some surprises that came was when I reached out to my yes, my prior guests of the podcast, and I told them that this is what I'm doing this book, and I'm going to include this part of you, and I had sent each of them a draft of what I was planning to include, just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure that they are happy with it. I did not have
Yes.
much experience in writing at that time, so I thought that is the right thing to do. It is, after all, their words that I adapt and put in paper. So I had a wonderful experience of one of them actually rewriting fully what I had sent. And because he is an author, he
Hmm.
created something beautiful
Big.
that I'm very
Yeah.
happy to have it included in the book. And that's Dr. John De Martini. I was very
Mm.
surprised for a man of his busyness to actually rewrite the whole thing as he wanted. So that's one surprise that came to me when I'm trying to think whether there was any surprise as an insight. Um, Nothing comes to my mind as like a surprising insight right now.
So, Dr. Agi, how did you structure the book to make it most effective for readers to absorb and apply the insights?
That's a great question, and my challenge and the challenge in when you have 88 or a number of quite irrelevant to some extent topics, it's important to find a way to structure it in a way. So I have, and I will answer your question. Despite the structure, though, this book is not meant to be read from cover to cover to start. There is no necessarily any continuity as such. This book is more like a buffet that you choose. You can choose a topic that intrigues you, that you're interested in, that you have a challenge with in your reality or in your life, and go there and read that particular insight, because I think that is when it's relevant to you, you have much more chance to take action on it, because it is something that you're already looking for some kind of a solution. So having said that, there is still some structures, and there are some, for example, passion and purpose, which I believe it's a very important element in our personal development and in our life, to be directed into a purposeful existence and work and everything and life. So some chapters or insights are for that. The morning routine that I mentioned has like a special mention in there. Meditation is a big thing and it is covered in some insights. Some of the health or wellness tips that I have gained from my own journey and from having some guests that spoke about, for example, breath work or things like that. Gratitude, again, a section of topics about how to really perceive life and what is happening with a sense of gratitude, which I don't know. I think, Daniel, that's very important. What do you think about
Very
gratitude?
well said, Dr. Agi. Very well said.
Thank
Beautifully articulated. So, which insight, or yes, which insight do you think readers often overlook, but it is extremely powerful?
Hmm. Let me pick one from the book as I have it next to me, and
Go
I
ahead.
will I will be drawn into the right one to tell you.
You mentioned Mr. Tim Harris. I like the book of Mr. Tim Harris about 4 days, 4
The
hours
four
work,
hour
I think.
work week, the 4 hour
Yes,
work week.
yes,
Yes,
I love
yes,
that.
great concept.
True,
So I will tell you one that I can see, and I think it is very relevant because many of us are not very good at it. Is to celebrate our small wins,
true.
and it is there is one insight about that, and I'm saying that I'm not very good at it. I'm working at it to celebrate the
Yes.
small wins, but many people completely disregard the small wins. There is someone, let's say, who want to lose 10 kilos in weight, and they have lost like 7 kilos already, and they say, man, I still haven't managed to do it." They haven't celebrated that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kilos that had lost. And I think that's a mistake that many of us often do. We have to go from A to B, and we reach a point, and rather than looking at how far we have reached, we look at what is still left for us to go, and we beat ourselves down rather than realizing that, wow, we have made great progress. We're not there yet, but we will be. So I think that's the whole point of celebrating the small wins. Because the journey comprises of these small wins. It's not the final last big win, which usually lasts a few hours and then you go to another direction.
True. Totally agree, Dr. Agi. Can you tell us about a time when one of these insights changed your mindset or behavior?
Mm, that's a great question.
Thank you.
There is one of the insights that is at the very beginning of the book. I think it's the second one, and it is about writing your life's purpose. So in it, the insight said, and that was one of my early guests in the podcast, a very wise person. He had written 70 books. It was incredible. And he was a consultant, and he was putting his clients, the first let's say exercise he would put them when they started working together was, you have 1 minute, write down a life purpose statement. And he
Yes.
was telling me that most people panic when they have this assignment because they haven't really thought about it at all. So, let alone having only 1 minute to write it. So, I think that was when I first realized that concept. It was something that also propelled me to if anything else, to dig deeper or look deeper inside myself and research within me what is, that purpose. How would I define my life purpose? So I think it's a beautiful exercise for anyone to, it literally takes 1 minute, but you have to uh, limit yourself to 1 minute just to see what you write.
True. So, what is the main difference between knowing an insight and turning into actionable behavior?
I'm so glad you asked this question, Daniel, because that is really the whole my whole intention with the book, which is not about knowledge. It's not about putting, if now, in especially in this time that we live in, the knowledge is everywhere. There's abundance of it. We're drowning in
Yes,
knowledge. So the challenge is, how can we apply this knowledge or put that knowledge into some use? Because knowledge without application is useless. People say knowledge is power, but it is not. It's only power if when you use it. So just knowledge is useless. So to answer your question, in the book, I have made the effort, and my intention is to it's for each of the insights to be actionable, to be something that the reader can implement, take some action on. Because, and that's really the whole point of growth, of personal development, of becoming better, that only becomes by doing. It does not become by reading. We can read thousands of books, but if we don't take action on anything that we read, and I will hold my hand up, and I will say that I have been in my 20s and 30s, for example, or 20s and early 30s, I was reading personal development books, and I was saying nothing is happening. And that's because, there are the exercises in those books. I would skip them and carry on reading. So I would just accumulate knowledge without implementing it, doing something with that knowledge. And once I started actually to do the exercises in the books, that's when I realized that this is how it's done. And that's why uh, I put the effort, and it's always the intention for the reader to take action on something, implement it, the next morning to meditate, or, have a cold shower, or whatever they find in there that draws them. I think that's the other important thing is to find the insight or the insights that you resonate with, because and that's I will disclaim that straight away, they're not all for everyone. Different people will be interested in different ones, and find the ones that resonate with you and see what you like, and then by reading it already you will understand what is the action that you can take. So that's my intention, really, and I hope for the reader to even find one thing they can do. That's, you can change your life with just doing one thing differently over time.
certainly, Dr. Agi. So, do you recommend a particular order in which to read or apply the insights?
Not really. You can either pick the order that the book is structured. If you choose to, take start it from the beginning to the end, you can do it like that. Or, as I said earlier, you can, have a glance and see which are the topics or the titles that resonate with you. And I think in order to implement, Daniel, it is important to, want to implement, because there might be the perfect thing that I can tell you that if you do that you will change your life, but if you're not interested in what that thing is, you won't do it. So it's pointless. So that's my suggestion. Find the what's interesting, what draws you. That's when it's more likely to take the action, because there is inspiration that does that.
Certainly. So, Dr. Agi, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing, as well as podcasting?
Very nice question. Long term. Let's start with. Oh, let me start with short term. I The book. It's been now close. It's over a year and a half since I published it, and I think I would like to do another one. I
Yes, go
have not
ahead.
set exactly my time frame, and I'm kind of waiting for the something like a signal or something that will propel me into action. As it happened with this book, I was just one day I got like, aha, I need to write
Uh-huh.
that. That's
Yes.
yes, it came to me
Eureka.
when Eureka, exactly. Exactly. In the long term, it's it's such a great question, because to be honest, I haven't thought very much as an author. I mean, as my future in writing more books, I haven't thought about the long term. So that's thank you very much for your question. So I can't answer it precisely, but what I will say right now, impromptu, is that I can see myself, and I would like to have written many books. So when I say many, perhaps 10 books, or even more. Nowadays, it's especially with AI, it's not
So
it takes
fast.
much less time to collate the content and have a first draft. As for podcasting that you asked me, I am at my podcast now, Personal Development Mastery. I am at 488 episodes.
Wow.
The eights are coming.
Congratulations.
There are many eights, which is interesting. And my intention is to carry on. That is something that I can imagine myself doing for a very long time, because I really enjoyed it. It is part of my mission, my purpose, my passion. These conversations, especially when I'm on the other side of of the microphone. But all this is part of, let's say, my contribution to the world. And I will let me salute you now, Daniel, because of what you're doing. It is also your contribution, or a part of your contribution anyway, to the world. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Dr. Agi Keramidas, congratulations and good luck to your goals. We are hoping for more and more and more empowering books, as well as empowering episodes to your podcast. So before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101, in its fifth season, People fifth season, with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So please do listen, Food 101, wherever you listen your podcast. So, Dr. Agi, what do you hope readers ultimately take away from 88 actionable insights for life?
I would like them to get one thing that will implement, something that they will put into action,
Action.
into their life, day after day, that it will become part of their routine or their life. And that is my hope for the reader. If someone picks one thing and they do it, I'm happy. I have served the
Fulfill.
purpose.
Yes, indeed. Again, Dr. Agi Keramidas, thank you so much for your knowledge, for being part on this world. giving empowerment. Please do continue what you're doing. Write more books to empower us. Create more episodes to your podcast and looking forward for success. So can you please invite our listeners to support your podcast as well as your book?
Thank you very much. My podcast is Personal Development Mastery, and you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. My book, as a matter of fact, since you listen to this conversation and you listen to Daniel's podcast, I would like to offer my book as a gift to your listeners, the PDF version, the electronic version. So you can go to agikeramidas.com/88, and there you can download a digital copy of the book to hopefully to find that insight that we were saying earlier.
Thank you, Dr. Agi, and people. Let's support Dr. Agi Keramidas, because if you support him, as I said, more and more and more empowering episodes, more and more and more empowering books to come. So, Dr. Agi, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much.
More to come, people. See you soon. So, Dr. Agi,